All right, great. Thank you, Mary, and good morning to everyone. Just noting that we are recording now that you've heard that, and we want to welcome you to the top 10 scams in New Hampshire during the pandemic. My name is Jill Martin. I'm a volunteer with AARP New Hampshire, and our goal is to help people stay safe from scams and fraud by raising awareness of the tactics that scammers use. Because if you can spot a scam, you can stop a scam. Before we get started, I'd like to cover a few of our housekeeping items. To help eliminate background noise, please be sure and mute your microphone. You are on mute if your microphone has a line through it, and you're welcome to appear on or off camera. We are recording, so if you don't want your video camera on, click on the video camera icon to be sure that it has a line through it. And we'd like you to use the chat box to engage with us and with the other participants. You can access the chat by clicking the chat button and typing your questions or comments where it says type message here. My fellow volunteer Linda will be monitoring the chat throughout the presentation, and she'll raise questions and comments that you might have. Finally, we encourage you, if you can, to rename yourself so that we recognize you in the chat. And you can move your cursor into the right corner of your own image and click on the 3 dots and click rename. And you can use your first name, that's fine. And I'd suggest grabbing some paper and a pen or a pencil to jot down anything you particularly want to remember. And I'd also like to mention that after this program, you'll receive a resource list with contact information for the various organizations that handle the different types of fraud and scams. You'll also receive a feedback survey from us, and your feedback is pivotal as we plan our future events. So please, if you consider taking a few minutes to share your thoughts, we'd appreciate it. And so let's get started. Presenting today's program are Mark Boyd and Sunny Mulligan Shea. Mark has been a New Hampshire resident for over 50 years and is previously from Attleboro, Massachusetts. He's a retired educator with over 40 years of administrating and teaching at the elementary, middle, and high school and college levels. He's a nationally and state recognized elementary school principal, and he won the New Hampshire Elementary School Principal of the Year in 2004. He's been an AARP New Hampshire volunteer since 2013, and he is currently our volunteer state president. He's held that job since April of 2016. Sunny is the victim witness advocate for the Elder Abuse and Exploitation Unit at the Attorney General's office. She earned her BA from Notre Dame College in Manchester, New Hampshire, and her JD from New Hampshire School of Law, formerly the Franklin Pierce Law Center. Her prior experience includes 14 years in a small law firm, predominantly representing children, and as a guardian ad litem for victims of sexual assault. She taught at the University of New Hampshire School of Law for 9 years and was a victim witness advocate for Hillsborough County Attorney's Office for 2 years prior to coming to the Attorney General's office in 2016. Assistant Attorney General Brian Townsend and Sunny present on elder abuse and exploitation throughout New Hampshire, as well as teaching at police standards and training. So Mark and Sunny, over to you.
Hello, I'm Mark, as you can probably see, and for Sunny, by the way, did any of you attend last month's program where Sunny talked about the romance scam? If you haven't, you've really missed something good. And I would go on to the AARP site and look it up. It's very informative, it's powerful, and even emotional. Well, again, Sunny, I'd like to thank you for participating today in the current top 10 scams during the COVID-19 pandemic in New Hampshire. We are talking New Hampshire, not Rhode Island, Connecticut, or Wyoming. The scams we will be talking about are currently on every law official's radar, including our Attorney General's office in New Hampshire. They are not ranked and all have the same potential degree of harm to you. Now, we have a boatload of information to cover, and we do want to hear from you in the chat room. Before we begin, Sunny and I would like to take a moment to thank our AARP New Hampshire volunteers working behind the scenes to make this event happen. Mary Robert, Jill Martin, Linda Hodgson, Kathy Arno, and our Associate State Director of Outreach and Advocacy, Jeannie Tucker. One last thing. Our goal is not to terrify you this hour, but to give you the information to protect yourself from these scams. The best defense against scams is knowledge, and that is why we are here. Sunny, do you want to kick us off with the IRS scam?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me, AARP. It's wonderful to have an opportunity to spread the word. So you're going to see, as Mark and I go forward, you're going to see a lot of scams that you've probably heard about. But what we have found over the past year is that COVID has made the scams bigger and better, mainly because people are isolated, they're alone, they're at home, and these scammers are seizing this opportunity to get to people, to get into their head. So as we go through this, we want you to know you are in control of this, and that's why we want to educate. So of course, here we are, we're in March, and what's coming up, but tax season. So you absolutely know the IRS is going to be right out there. Now, there is the extension till May, but it doesn't matter. They're going to start now, and they're going to hit hard. Please know what they do is they will call and they will tell you that you owe on your IRS, you owe taxes, you owe the government. And you know what? If you don't do something soon, they're sending the sheriffs to get you. So folks, let's start with the very moment of when you hear someone saying something threatening like that. The first thing you've got to do is step back and take a breath. Because guess what? Our local law enforcement are not going to come in and arrest anybody. That's not how they work. That's not how the IRS work. That's not how our local government works and our local law enforcement. And they work on trying to scare you. So the truth is that the IRS send letters. If you're in arrears, they're going to send you a letter. They're going to send you many letters, actually. So don't let someone scare you. The other part is the IRS don't ask for payment on a credit card over the phone. They don't ask you to go get gift cards. They don't ask you to go get Bitcoin. They don't do any of those things. So as soon as you hear someone demanding payment, saying that the IRS and threatening law enforcement, what you do is you hang up. Just stop engaging. Don't talk to them. And I would say, call your local law enforcement and let them know. And let them know that you're receiving these calls so that they're aware of, we're seeing it again, and they're ready to help your neighbors and your friends. Next slide, please. So the main thing is don't let them scare you. You're allowed to be comfortable in your home and in your own space. And as I said, the best thing you can do when they tell you law enforcement is coming, and if you have that gut, oh my gosh, your little butterflies in your stomach, give yourself some calm. Pick up the phone. You take control. Pick up the phone, call your local police station and tell them what's been said to you. And you know what they're going to tell you? Yeah, no, we're not doing that. We're not coming to get you. And you know what? You immediately have that peace of mind. Let it go. Move on. Have a great rest of the day. Don't let them scare you. Next slide, please.
Number 2 on our list is COVID-19 vaccine scams. This one is rampant like the others all over the state. And this one is where a caller will be calling you personally and asking for information or money in exchange for the COVID-19 vaccine. or their text scams falsely advertising a cure or a bogus test for COVID-19. These are all bogus. Anyways, contact tracing scams. How do you know if the call is from a real contact tracer or a scammer? Legitimate tracers need health information, not money or personal financial information. They also don't need your social security number or immigration status. Legitimate contact tracers will only send you text or email notifications if they need to contact you. And these communications will not contain links to click or to ask you to download files. Remember, you don't have to pay to put your name on a list to get a vaccine. And you don't have to pay to get early access to the vaccine. Nobody legitimate will call about the vaccine and ask for your social security number, bank account, or credit card number, or any financial information. We ask you to ignore any and all offers for vaccinations and miracle treatment cures. Scammers are selling products to treat or prevent COVID-19 without proof that they work. Be wary of ads for test kits. Many of these test kits being advertised have not been approved by the FDA. Almost all authorized home tests don't provide rapid results or require you to send a test sample to a lab for analysis. Hang up your phone. Better yet, do not answer a robocall. If you don't know the number, don't answer. If they really want to talk to you, they will leave a message. Don't respond to texts, emails, or calls about checks from the government. And watch for emails claiming to be from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, or World Health Organization, WHO. Never open or click on links from sources you don't know. And that is our COVID-19 vaccine portion.
Next slide.
And here's more information, the contract tracing calls, and a lot of this is going on. Basically, if there is a individual who contracts the COVID-19, they will ask that person who they have been with in the last week or so, and that someone will reach out to you to let you know.
Next slide, please. And you're going to hear a recurring theme from Mark and I. Mark just said to you, better still, don't pick up your phone. And when Mark and I started doing these things together a few years ago, these presentations, we were able to say to people, if it's a local number, it's okay. But you know what? It's not anymore, because people can just ghost numbers is the word for it, where they can use a number that's local and make it look like it's your local PD, your local library. I, in fact, had a phone call from my husband once, and I'm standing in my kitchen. I pick up my phone and it says it was my husband. He was standing right beside me. He was not calling me. We were quite able to have a conversation, but his number came up. So I would encourage you actually just to let everything go to voicemail. Let your family and friends know, the people you want to talk to, let them know. Same with your doctor's offices. As Mark said, those important calls, they're going to leave a message. Your doctors will leave a message. Your friends will leave a message. Your family will leave a message. Most scam callers don't. But if they do, you listen carefully to the message and you really take a deep breath and think, because you know what? You'll realize it's probably a scam. Like, again, if it's the IRS, guess what? They're not leaving phone messages. If it's Social Security, they're not leaving you phone messages. They write letters to you. So it'll give you that moment to think so you don't react. So again, I'm saying to you, you have control. You can be in charge of all of this. So romance scams, Mark knows this and AARP know this, is one of the most heartbreaking parts of my job when I go out to people, because these romance scammers are very good. Usually people meet them, next slide please, meet them online. And it's sometimes through dating websites. Sometimes it will be through like a random email. It'll be, they contact you through some type of social media. Next slide, please. The problem is that they do what I call grooming. They reach you, they start talking to you, And next thing you know, they're talking to you about their undying love. But most importantly, they want to leave this dating website. They want to talk to you offline. They want it to be private. By the way, there are some people who have met people on online dating, and there have been some lovely matches, but there's some really big warning signs. One of them being they need to immediately leave this website and talk to you offline. Next slide. And of course, the undying love. They just within no time at all, they're madly in love with you. Now, let's think hard about this. They haven't met you. They haven't, the only thing you've seen is the pictures, the fake pictures they send. The only thing they've seen is your picture, maybe, if you've sent it, but they're madly in love. The other thing they do in this grooming process, by the way, is they will say things like, say you're widowed in the past year. You'll say, oh, I was widowed. Well, suddenly, guess what? They are too. Or they've got some lonely aspect of their life similar to yours. They will try and create connection with you. They will try and make you feel like they care, but they're also madly in love with you, according to them. Next slide, please. The stories are marvelous. They are absolutely marvelous. When I think I've heard every creative, great story, they come up with new ones. But generally speaking, they will tell you that they're a US citizen, but they're traveling or working overseas. Now, their travel and or working might be military connected. It might be attached to an oil rig. It might be attached to some big contract that they're working on. It may be attached to anything to do with overseas business, but they'll always sort of, not always, but a lot of the times they'll say, no, but I'm from the United States. And they'll tell you they have a home, and they might even give you an address for a home. And you can actually sometimes Google them and find it on Google Earth, but you know what? It's not their home, but it's attached to someone's identity who they may have stolen, or from Facebook information they've gotten from someone else. Next slide, please. So what usually happens, they've talked to you and they've talked to you and they've talked to you and you've talked to them. Now, I have been in homes, and as recently as 2 weeks ago, where someone received 8 phone calls from the scammer in space of an hour and a half. They will call relentlessly. Mark mentioned the woman who spoke for AARP about romance scams a few weeks ago. They would call her when she was commuting home from work because they knew her schedule. They would call her when she was about to go for her run because they knew her schedule. But you know what? It made her feel like they cared and they understood her. And through this, they then will make that plan to visit you. Because you know what? They're going to save you. They're going to be the knight in shining armor. They're going to be the person who really cares and changes your life and brings happiness back to your life in some instances, because COVID has made people lonely. Loss of a loved one has made people lonely. There's things that have happened that have, given people just a void. So they then start the promising. They're going to come and see you. And then you wait. Next slide, please. But then the tragedy befalls them. Something happens, something goes wrong. They can't do it. They can't come. Their identity's been stolen. Their wallet was stolen. Their passport was stolen. There's a number of stories they will make up. We've heard people talk. They sent one person I talked with a picture of a crashed car where he swore his daughter had been injured and he needed help with the hospital bills. So they will come up with the most marvelous stories. They might say that they're in the country trying to resolve their parents' estate and they're just waiting, but they have to pay taxes on it so they can leave. But you know what? When they come, your life is going to be great because they're going to have all of this money and they're going to be set for life. Next slide, please. So here's the things you can do. When you get involved in one of these scams, and by the way, people will say, how could that possibly happen? Well, you know how it happens. These people are incredibly good. That's what they do for a living. They sit in some type of a factory overseas usually. They have their computer screens, they have their cell phones, they have all the contact stuff, they have their list of people they're scamming, and they just call you and call you and call you. So you know what? As soon as they make an ask for some type of money, you shut them down. That's the end. There should be no reason for you to be sending money to or supporting anyone. You know what? Most of you, a lot of you have worked very hard all your lives, and it's your turn to be comfortable, not supporting some criminal in another country who's trying to take your money. And AARP has this Fraud Watch Network helpline. Call them, talk to them, tell them. And it helps sometimes just to talk it through. Next slide, please. The most difficult part on these romance scams, and I will tell you now, is that they've won their way into your hearts. And they've created an attachment that makes it really difficult to break, because you really believe you're in love. And when I started this, I said, you know, it's the hardest part of my job, because when I go out and speak to victims of romance scams, not only do I tell them you're probably not getting any of your money back, but I'm also telling you they're fake. You can't love someone who's not real. It's all bogus. So I break hearts, and their wallets are often already broken. So just be leery. Think hard, talk to people. And if you have friends who you've heard are victims of these scams, please be kind. Listen to them, support them, you know, emotionally support them, because they are really struggling. And sometimes they don't need to be judged. They just need to be heard. And sometimes just a little bit of reality. Give them that little bit of reality to say, it seems odd to me that he would want money if he has all this money. It seems odd to me that he may want, he needs to pay all these fees for an estate that's worth millions of dollars. Couldn't they take that out of the estate? But don't judge. Just maybe give them some little reality checks, but be supportive, because it's a very difficult and lonely place to be. Mark.
Sonny, before we leave this, all the men who are watching this, please don't get too comfortable, because men, scammers are non-discriminating. They don't discriminate. Sonny, share with us the men who have been victimized by the romance scam.
So some of the men, and I'm going to make a general statement. And this is just anecdotal. I do not have science to prove this, but I think men are less reluctant to report that this has happened to them. But I have known men who think they're married. They've done online marriages, and they think they're married, and they continue to support this person in another country, waiting for them to come back. You know, but there's this constant, again, there's always the disaster. You know, my child is sick and they're going to die if I don't get them some treatment. Or, you know, there was a flood in my village, or whatever the new disaster is. But men are just as susceptible. Men also have been isolated through this COVID. Men also have lonely moments and go online looking for, you know, a connection. And that's okay. Just be totally aware. And Mark's so correct. Men are as susceptible to this as women. So just be careful, take a breath, step back, think. And if there's someone you're close to who you can talk to about it and hear yourself talk about it, it's really helpful.
You know, Sonny said in this segment that you should not be judgmental for the victims of a romance scam. I would like to add, for any of the scams we talk about, these victims need your support. They know they did something stupid. They feel terrible. So the last thing they need is someone to pile on. So we ask you, please, if you know a victim, step back and think, how would you feel? And with that said, let's go to lottery mail scam. A lottery scam is a type of advance fee fraud which begins with an unexpected email, notification, phone call, or mailing, sometimes including a large check, explaining that you have won a large sum of money in a lottery. or you are notified that you have won a foreign lottery, Jamaica, Irish, Caribbean, and to receive this enormous amount, you need to pay an upfront processing fee. Please let it be known, any international lottery are illegal in the United States. Mail scammers will try to get your attention in various ways, ranging from exciting offers to intimidating threats. Regardless of their message, the goal of a email scam is to get you to either send money or provide your personal information. Now, some of the common warning signs are a claim that you have been specifically selected, and you can go to the next slide, a request that you confirm your personal information, a request for payment by means other than a credit card, including cash, gift cards, wire transfer, or a private courier, use of suspicious official-looking documents or fake government seals, or a request for your credit card or other payment mechanism for shipping and handling, or use of threats. If you don't comply, even the threat of an arrest. And that is mail scams.
And I put this slide in here where it says Department of Investigation because I was dealing with someone, working with someone who was scammed in a lottery scam. And the next thing they got was the FBI agent calling them to let them know, I'm here to help you. I heard you've been scammed. And this is the copy of the ID they sent. By the way, completely fake. No such agent. I did actually send it to the FBI, to a woman I work with at the FBI, to verify that it was absolutely fake. So yes, it was a fake ID, but these are the links they go to. And he was doing the investigation and he was going to help them to get their money back. But all they needed to do is pay some processing fees again. Guess what? Your tax dollars pay the federal agencies. You don't need to pay an FBI agent. You don't need to pay a postal inspector. You don't need to pay anyone to get your money back on a scam. So this, I thought, was just very indicative of the links they'll go to. I also have a wonderful copy of a military ID for someone who is trying to scam another military person by creating that connection. I'm military too. And the person thought they were helping someone in the military. Again, scammers creating connections, trying to get to you so that you will let go of your money and invest in them. But I just thought this was a great indication of the links they'll go to.
You know, Sonny, if two words that scammers use a lot, and if you hear these two words or see these two words, you got to start thinking something's wrong. Now, those two words are processing fee. So please, if you see processing fee, please be aware.
Next slide, please. So identity theft is a tough one. It really is. And it's basically when someone assumes access to you and gains access to your resources, they obtain your credit cards and other benefits in your name. Next slide, please. So there are some simple things. You know, I'm showing my age when I tell you this, but when I first got my Social Security card, I remember I was told, always have it in your wallet. Well, guess what? The world has changed. Never have it in your wallet. Always leave it somewhere safe, locked away, where you just cannot, no one can access it. Your Social Security card is not something you carry around any longer. There's ways for people to get your information, documents. How many documents do you get in the mail with bills and numbers and identifying data? So when you have information, you know, invest in a shredder. You know, each day as there's stuff you don't need, just shred it, get rid of it. The offers you receive in the mail on a regular basis, you know, offering you the world and back in a credit card, please shred those as well, because again, there's personal identifying data on those. So when you get calls and someone's asking you, and sometimes this happens through phone scams where someone calls and identifies themselves as a financial organization, a credit card company, whatever it is, and they ask for personal information. So I would just sort of, as a word to the wise, if you get a call from a credit card company and they're asking you for your account information, isn't that kind of odd? If they called you and they're your credit card information, they're your credit card company, shouldn't they know that? So what I would advise when you get any of these phone calls from someone saying they're a bank, they're a credit card company, they're anything, say, thank you so much. I'm going to call you back. Again, you get a chance to take a breath. You go get your credit card statement or your bank statement or the financial institution statement. Never use the number they give you. Use the one on your statements because you know that's a legitimate number. So please don't use information they give you. The other place that people can steal stuff is basically through the buildup of mail in your mailbox. Gather your mail regularly. Don't leave it out there for someone to take and glean information. Consider a credit freeze or a credit alert. This isn't for everybody, but it seems to me just a wise choice. You can have your credit frozen so that no one can open accounts in your name. If they have found your social security number, if they have found your date of birth, your address, put a credit freeze so that no one can open anything in your name. If you need to then make a large purchase, you can unfreeze your credit. That's okay. But it just is another layer of protection for you. Check your credit report. Each of the credit reporting agencies gives you a free report every year. So that means like 3 times a year, you should be able to check your credit score. Just check it. Make sure that no one is using your identity to open up credit cards, to open up lines of credit, to take out loans, to do anything. And it's just such a simple way to make sure that everybody's staying honest. And do check your credit card statements. You might sort of say, oh yeah, I didn't use that one this month at all. So, push it aside, put it in the pile. Please don't. Just open that credit card statement and make sure there's no charges there that you did not authorize, that were not okay by you, that weren't what you created. And then make the call immediately. Most of the major credit cards, all the major credit cards have fraud reporting bureaus. So immediately, if there's a charge you don't recognize, call them. By the way, I will admit my husband thought he didn't recognize a charge and he called the fraud crowd. And then when they told him exactly what it was his. It was his charge. But you know what? Better safe than sorry. What does it matter? That's what they do. They make sure that it's not fraudulent, and it's okay to be wrong. At least you're safe. Next slide, please.
Sonny, your husband's not by any chance watching this program?
Absolutely not.
Good, good, good.
No, he's working.
All right. So by now, I think everyone participating realizes that scammers are not nice people, and they're never going to get nominated for any humanitarian awards. Well, an area that really reinforces their nastiness is the fake organization. Fake charities and organizations try to take advantage of your generosity and compassion for others in need. Scammers will steal your money by posing as a genuine charity or organization. Not only do these scams cost you money, they also divert much needed donations away from legitimate charities and causes. If you think you are being taken advantage by a scammer and a fake organization, please, we're going to send a resource guide to you, and there'll be information there to tell you what to do. A fake charity organization approaches occur all year round, and especially when there's a major disaster. And it often takes the form of a response to real disasters or emergencies, such as floods, cyclones, earthquakes, and bushfires. Scammers will pose as either agents or legitimate, well-known charities, or create their own charity name. They can include charities that conduct medical research or support disease sufferers and their families. They may also pose at individuals needing donations for health or other reasons. Scammers will play on your emotions by claiming you are helping the victim, and many times they will say they are children. Fake charities operate in a number of different ways. You may be approached on the street or at your front door by people collecting money. Scammers may also set up fake websites which look similar to those operated by a real charity. Some scammers will call or email your request for a donation. Now, the warning signs for this scam is you've never heard of the charity before, or it is a well-known, but you suspect the website, email, or letter may be fake. A fake website may look almost identical to a legitimate charity site, changing only the details of where to send the donation. The person collecting donation on behalf of the charity does not have any identification. Remember, even if they do not have identification, it could be forged or meaningless, or you are put under pressure or made to feel guilty or selfish if you don't donate. And that is the fake organization scam. Sonny, want to talk about Social Security?
It's good. So I should clarify. I get to pick on my husband because he is not engaged in this program right now. He is a member of AARP, that being said.
See, Sonny,
But
Sonny, I'm
yeah.
personally afraid of my wife. That's why I never do it.
So there you go. So Social Security, again, this is another one. And recently in the last 6 months, I would say we've seen quite an uptick because we do get reports to our consumer hotline at the Attorney General's office when people think someone's tried to scam them. And by the way, I think we get on average between 20 and 30 phone calls a week about possible scams. Which is really kind of discouraging. So the Social Security scam is where you get the phone call, and again, they try and scare you, and they tell you that your Social Security number has been attached to some criminal activity, and as a result, they're going to suspend your payment for the month, either your payments into your bank account or whatever. And again, what do they want you to do? They want you to immediately pay a fee or a fine. So again, here we go. Social Security don't call to say things like this to you. If there's a problem, they send you a letter. Social Security doesn't send local law enforcement to arrest you. Social Security doesn't collect fees, nor would they, by the way, have you pay a fine through Bitcoin, gift cards, anything of that nature. So again, but they do work on frightening you. And that's why I said at the beginning of this program, and I'm trying to say throughout, you don't have to be scared because you can take control of this. If someone calls saying their Social Security, of course, you haven't picked up your phone because we've asked you to let everything go to voicemail. But besides that, if they leave a message saying it's associated with some type of criminal activity, hang up and call your local Social Security office if that's what's going to give you peace of mind. But just know that it's a scam and you're all right. You can call your local police department and ask them, and they will tell you the same thing. But just be aware because they scare you by saying, especially, there's a lot of folks who depend every month on that Social Security check, and someone suddenly tells you it's going to be gone. It's not going to be in your mailbox. They're working on frightening you so that you'll react and send the money. So don't let them. You can take control. Next slide, please. So I apologize, I've already gone through this, but do be aware again, if someone calls in their Social Security, and I'll go back to the common sense thing, when you have the minute to take a breath, if Social Security is calling you because there's a problem with your Social Security number, shouldn't they know what your Social Security number is because they just called you? So just be aware that you shouldn't, again, that goes back to doing your utmost never to give any of your personal information out over the phone. Thank you. Next one.
Yes, Publishing Clearinghouse scam. Now, Publishing Clearinghouse is a legitimate business, but the scammers have taken the name and have used it to their benefit. The Publishing Clearinghouse generally mail begins in mid-January, and the TV ads start coming at you, and they will continue for months. Unfortunately, they mark the kickoff for sweepstakes scam season. Already, scammers have wasted no time getting busy. At some point, a scam artist will call and ask you to send money for that processing fee, to pay some type of fees in order to get your prize. No legitimate contest, sweepstake, or lottery, in fact, ever asked for an advance fee to claim winnings. Here's what you need to know about other prize lies. The partial payment check. You get a check with a congratulations and instructions to deposit the partial payment of supposed winnings into your bank account. You're also told to use that money to make a quick wire transfer of a required advance payment for taxes or fees or whatever. What happens? The deposited check proves to be counterfeit. This could take weeks to discover, and you are liable for all money drawn from that deposit in the meantime. Or you get the bogus claim agent congratulation letter, often asks you to contact a designated claims agent. Don't these smooth talkers claim agents to be the third-party middleman managing your prize award, but they're actually professional con men. Once you pay the requested advance amount, they bombard you with other phone calls and letters claiming new, unexpected fees have arisen until you get wise. And did you even enter a scam? If you didn't enter a scam and told you won, it's a scam. There is no way you can win a legitimate sweepstake, lottery, or contest that you don't enter.
Next slide,
Sunny.
please.
Sunny, I have a question for you from your talk about the IRS, or actually a comment. This is from Ron in the chat. And he said, I had a message from Officer Harris of the IRS to call back about an important tax matter. The call back phone number had a San Francisco area code. Now, why would they be calling New Hampshire when there is a local office? So that's using your common sense.
And there you go. You're using your common sense. And furthermore, they don't call. So what you want to do with that, if you want it, again, peace of mind is what matters because you want to take control of this. So go to a website, find your local IRS office, pick up the phone, call them, let them know you received this call, even saying, yep, I want to make sure I'm all good. Whatever gives you peace of mind, but you're exactly right. And the IRS don't call, they send letters. And these people do, though, they work on scaring you. The other thing we didn't mention earlier is sometimes these folks posing as federal agents will say, and don't speak to anybody. There's a federal gag order on this. Annoys the life out of me because that's a really scary thing. Well, even if there's a federal gag order, you can talk to law enforcement about any issues. So if you have that moment of just being scared, nervous, pick up the phone, call your law enforcement and tell them what's happened and say, they said there's a gag order. They'll set you straight. They'll give you peace of mind. They'll let you know. No such thing, folks. So thank you. That was a great question, by the way, and you did use your common sense. I'm so glad. Next slide, please. So what we've seen too, and this is Amazon types of problems, because we have a lot of people are shopping online. So they do a tremendous amount of things. They will do, there's phishing phone calls directing you to go to websites where they'll try and get you to give your personal information. They'll do phishing emails, and it might be to do with an order you made. So all these Amazon types of scams, it might also be that they've delivered something to your door, and there's people who are literally following Amazon trucks and picking them up right after them. I think a lot of you probably saw news reports of that over the holiday seasons. So the phishing emails trying to get you to give up information based on an order you might have made. Don't bite, don't go for it. Don't give them any of your information over the phone or over an email if you can absolutely help it. So I've looked at brushing. I found this and I just found it fascinating. I thought it'd be fun to share, and because I was able to tell Mark about it. Brushing is a new scam where they're sending items to you. You did not order them. You did not ask for them. You don't necessarily want them, but they send you products. And what they do then is they can use it as data saying, this is how many of this we sold or sent out, so they can increase their ratings. Now, the fascinating part is you're under no obligation to return these items because you didn't ask for them. They just arrived. But it's just another sort of scam that people are using in order to increase ratings on products. So that was kind of an interesting one. Be careful though when you're directed. If you get a phishing phone call and they direct you to a website where they're trying to get your information and things, be careful. The websites can look very legitimate, but they're not. So again, I ask you to go to a reliable source, not using information you received in an email. And those hyperlinks in emails, don't click on them, please, especially when you have no idea where the origin of that email. So this is sort of the Amazon and some of the techie types of things we're seeing as well. Next slide, please.
And that would be me. I think everyone's aware of the grandparent scam, but we just like to give you some more information about it. The grandparent scam in the age of the coronavirus is a call to an unsuspecting grandparent, usually in the middle of the night, informing them that their grandchild was in legal trouble or medical trouble and they needed funds immediately. And they were called because the child was too embarrassed to contact their parents because they know their grandparents love them. And what you hear is, Grandma, I'm in the hospital, sick. Please wire money right away. Or Grandpa, I'm stuck overseas. Please send money. Now, during the coronavirus, it's taken a new twist. And here's what to keep in mind. In grandparent scams, scammers pose at panicky grandchildren in trouble or an official calling or sending messages urging you to wire money immediately. They say they need the cash to help with an emergency, like paying a hospital bill or, like I said, leave the country. They pull at your heartstring so they can trick you into sending money before you realize it's a scam. In these days of the coronavirus, their lives could be particularly compelling, but we all need to save our money for the real family emergencies. Now, what you can do, if you ever get a call like this, take a deep breath. Don't panic. Tell them you need to think and ask for a phone number and say, I will call you back. Once they hang up, what you do, you call a family member, friend, or law enforcement to verify that your grandchild is in trouble. Then you call the grandchild or his parents. And usually at this point, you find out the grandchild is either at home in bed or at college. What you need to do is verify. Next slide, I'm sorry. And hold on to your money. Now, a brilliant woman, Sue Boyd, back in 1955, said to me, Mark, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And please remember that. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And you should not walk down that lane. Sunny.
So what the twist this has taken in New Hampshire, and some of you may have seen this on the news, but not that long ago, there was a town who had someone fall victim or nearly fall victim to a grandparent scam. And the people were asking them to go meet them at a local parking lot to collect the money. Or they were willing to come to their house to collect the money. And again, they were told there was a gag order, so not to tell anybody. I urge you, if anyone calls, as Mark said, if anyone calls saying, oh, your grandchild's in trouble, and here he is. And we've had people report to us, by the way, that they put the child on the phone and it sounds just like them. Now, I'm not sure if it sounds like them or if the grandparent is just, scared, nervous, worried for their grandchild. I'm not sure, but I've had several people say it sounded just like them. So don't get panicked. Don't send the money. Don't ever go meet someone when you don't know who they are. Federal agents aren't picking up money in a parking lot of, a hardware store for, to get your grandchild out of trouble. So it's that moment again of thinking it through, talking to someone, sharing with someone, having that trusted person you can turn to ask them about what to do or to share with them before you do anything. Always call law enforcement because they will really help you work through it. So yeah, just hold on to your money. Your grandchild is more than likely absolutely fine.
Sonny, we're doing incredibly well on time. So if anybody has any questions or would like to share an experience, please jump into the chat room. And I see one question. Linda?
Yes. Yeah, there is one question here, Mark, that just came in. This is from Kathleen. How do the scammers get your phone number? And can you use the do not call list to get phone calls to stop?
Can I say something about the do not call list, which is a great list, but it's for people who are actually legitimate. People who are criminals don't care about the do not call list. And as for the phone numbers, it's like a robocall thing. They just have lists of phone numbers and it is done by robocall. They call a number, it doesn't pick up, it goes to the next number. It doesn't pick up, they go to the next number. And that's why we're also encouraging you to not pick up, let it go to voicemail, so they don't engage with you. We don't want these folks engaging with you. We don't want you, because they're very good. They'll keep getting information out of you. They'll keep sucking you in. Don't engage at all with them.
Yeah,
Mark,
what
do you have
is
anything further on that?
no, yes, what is a gold mine for these scammers is social media. And that's where they get a lot of information for the grandparent scam. You have to be careful if you are on social media, Facebook or whatever, you have to be careful what you put in there. And you also need to talk to your children, to talk to their children to say, please don't put addresses. Don't say you're going to Acapulco for the next week. That's where a lot of these scammers get a lot of their information.
And, I'll reference again the romance scam presentation we did a few weeks ago and the woman who walked us through her experience. It was in hindsight, she went back and she was very into social media. She was a wonderful woman and stayed connected with a lot of people through social media. But she told us after the fact, she looked back and realized on her Facebook profile how much of her information was out there. It screamed, I have a little bit of money. It screamed what her profession was so they could connect with her. It just gave so much information. And it wasn't until after the fact when she looked back. So maybe all of you, if you have Facebook or you're on social media, take a look, see how much is there and start locking down on some of your privacy settings. By the way, I am not good. I don't have Facebook, but I'm not good on the privacy setting issues. I always say, talk to your children or your grandchildren because they know more about all of this than I do. That's for sure. Mark?
Well, I don't see any other questions. So do you want to do the grand finale?
So I had said at the very beginning, you are in control of this. You can really protect yourself and take care of yourself. And that would make us ever so happy if we could stop doing presentations because we stop seeing people scammed by these folks. So just again, never giving out your personal information unless absolutely necessary or unless you're absolutely sure who you're giving it to, that they're legitimate. And as I've said, you're going to be letting everything go to voicemail, I hope, after this presentation. So they will leave messages. Your doctors leave messages, your families leave messages, and just spread the word, because maybe some of your friends too will learn from, I'm letting it go to voicemail. I was told at the AARP presentation that, you know, if I pick up, I'm more likely to get sucked in. If you get a voicemail saying they're from an institution, find an independent source for that number. And I had said that earlier. If they say they're a credit card company, if they say they're a bank or any financial institution, just go to your own paperwork, go to an independent source, not a number they give you, not a link they give you. Find an independent source. Keep an eye on your credit card reports, on your credit reports. Make sure no one is using your information. They may have found your information, you don't even know it. That's a good way to keep an eye on it, to check on it, to make sure that your information is safe and your credit is safe. And as I said, you know, for those of you who might be in sort of have sort of financial investments and things, you know, when we're all told by financial folks, oh, you're in it for the long haul, it doesn't matter month to month. And so there's the tendency to try and ignore it month to month because, you know, we're in it for the long haul. Well, please pick it up. Check all your financial statements each month. Make sure everything going on is clear and what you're expecting. And if you have any questions, get on the phone to the company. Of course, using the phone number you have that you know is legitimate. On all of these.
Could I also add, Sunny?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier on the romance scam, the number of people who do not report being scammed. And that is sad. And the reason they don't report it is because they're embarrassed and they don't want people to know, especially their children. What I encourage you, if you are a victim of a scam, I'm begging you, you got to talk to someone. It may be not your children or whatever, but if you have a friend, if you have a clergy or anybody, confide in someone so you can get some other support. Or the best one you're going to see in a moment, a list, or you will get it, a list of people you can call, and they will help you. Sunny, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, that's a great interruption, actually, because I will tell you, and the folks I go out to see who have been victims of scams, some of the more successful stories are those who have support systems, who have gotten over the embarrassment and spoken to family members or to a trusted person. And those are the ones where they have the support and they can back out of the scam. They can back out of sending the money. They have someone to share it with. So please, Mark's so correct. Please talk to somebody and take a deep breath every time. Think before you act. And when you start talking through the scenarios that you've heard or seen in your head or talked it out with a trusted friend, you'll suddenly hear it and you'll go, oh, that's so nuts. That's not right. So don't be afraid to talk it through. And as I had said earlier, consider a credit freeze or at least some sort of credit alert so that if anyone is trying to do anything with your information, you get an alert and you can stop it. You can be in control of this. Next slide, please. Mark.
Yes, resources for you. Watch your emails. Open that email, please, when you get that resource guide. It will tell you who you can talk to. On your screen now, AARP has a Fraud Watch Network helpline, and I can't see the number because there's pictures in front of it, but that number is a number you want to write down. And if you have any questions or if you think you've been victimized, please call. Next slide. Sunny?
And here's a complete list of resources that you can turn to or look at. And as I said, they're just for those of you who are local in New Hampshire, the Attorney General's hotline is there. There's a consumer hotline where volunteers work that, as well as ARP has so many wonderful volunteers. So does our office for consumer protection. Don't hesitate to call, and they may be able to direct you to other resources or to at least clarify for you, oh, this is totally sounds like a scam. And they're doing these calls every single day and are an invaluable resource.
And let me say, the document you get, you'll be able to read. So it's worth waiting for. Sunny, thank you. It's always great to work with you. Maybe we'll do this again sometime. And thank
Thank
you
you, everybody, for your time.
participating.
Thank you, Mark and Sunny, for sharing your time and expertise with all of us today. I certainly found it helpful. And thanks to our audience for joining us as well. We hope you enjoyed hearing from the presenters and that the information and resources will be of value to you. And be sure to check the AARP New Hampshire website often for more free online programs coming soon, including an introduction to the Concord's hiking trails, live cooking demonstrations, gentle yoga, and much, much more. That's aarp.org/nh. Be well and take care.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.